everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the SoberFitGirl Podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about letting go of people pleasing, learning how to say no, and being unapologetically happy in your sobriety. And I'm really excited to talk about this because I feel like this has been something that was coming up in my own experiences lately, and I'm able to reflect back on where it all stems from, like this urge to be so consumed with what others think and pleasing everybody else and not taking care of myself because we're human too. And we're on our own sober journey. And I think that sometimes when we're just so used to like giving, 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 we forget about ourselves. So, what did it look like for you in childhood and then in your later years when it came to people pleasing and putting other people's needs before your own?
I grew up in a home where my family's needs were always before mine, especially my mom. Everything needed to be her way specifically. Her needs were always first. And the same with, I was raised that way. I was raised not to be in touch with my feelings, not to understand my feelings, no mindfulness. I was taught to observe other people's feelings in the household and base my actions, reactions on making sure they weren't upset. And that has carried on through my whole entire life until sobriety. I was so worried and hypersensitive of how to be sure other people were okay. And that can just go into the simple fact of drinking. So there is many times in my drinking days I said yes to drinking when I wanted to say no to myself, just because I cared so much about what that person thought of me, because I didn't want to look weird, or I didn't want to be the loser, or in dating experiences, if I drank even though I didn't want to, it was like, oh my God, this guy's gonna think I'm a loser if I don't drink. Where in turn, if I drank, was so embarrassing that I, kind of was a loser. I think just through my childhood and through life, I definitely was a chronic people pleaser because I'm so concerned to make sure everyone else is okay. So I didn't really have, I guess, a sense of self, if that makes sense.
Mm.
And I got that sense of self in my sobriety. It took a long time. There's still many times where I choose other people because I'm so worried about what other people think. But the more you practice it, the more it gets easier, because setting boundaries, for me, in when I even learned what a boundary was, made me almost sick. Because if I ever was growing up, if ever I set a boundary or said no, there was serious repercussions. There was serious yelling. There was physical things that happened that through time, me saying no would make me almost sick in sobriety.
I can relate to that so much because when I think back to my people pleasing, I remember like as a child at home and at school with my friends, if I wasn't putting other people's needs before my own, there was severe like reactions. Like I would see people being disappointed in me. I would see people lashing out. You know, I feel like I had to earn love from people and earn approval and just, it was constant. You could never just, get that love without putting other people before you and saying yes when you wanted to say no. And what I noticed in a specific friend dynamic when I was young was that I would always choose to please the person that I feel like would give the least of a react. I mean, so the person, if I disappointed them, they would have more of a reaction, a negative reaction, and make me feel more uneasy than the other person. So I was scared to basically disappoint people and for people to be loud about the fact that I disappointed them by not pleasing them. And that would always make me, for some reason, in my romantic relationships and my friendships, attracted to people who I feel like I had to earn their love and their respect. And that's exactly how I, to this day, sometimes feel in a lot of relationships, is like I feel like I have to keep proving myself again and again and again by like putting their needs above my own and constantly just being on edge and almost waiting for that reaction, or if I did something wrong, like I'm always. And that was a big thing in my hangovers. I would wake up and I would just think that I like disappointed everybody, and there was going to be reactions and consequences because I was so scared of letting people down and having a reaction out of it, because that's what I saw. Like if I didn't do what the other person wanted me to do, it was always anger and yelling and just mean viciousness. Like even in school, girls can be mean. And I started realizing that like I was doing things and going out to places, drinking, just getting myself in behaviors that like I didn't really want to do. At the time, I was telling myself yes, but I didn't want to. I was trying to please other people. And another thing is like, I feel like I would make myself small in a lot of situations. So I would never want to celebrate my success because there was a lot of people in my life that when I was trying to, if I accomplished something and people were praising me, I just saw like this like anger, almost like this resentment, this energy from them that like made me feel like, okay, I'm letting them down by simply being happy and simply being successful or good at what I'm doing. And I want to downplay myself. So I immediately would start talking like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. Like I would just like, I wouldn't talk about it. I wouldn't want to really call attention to it because I saw how the other person was being almost resentful over the fact that like they wouldn't want to celebrate with me. They wouldn't want to be happy for me. And that was a way that I learned how to cope in those situations, was just try to make myself like I'm not as happy as maybe I am, and try to like not celebrate my accomplishments, which in turn made me isolate. It made me isolate a lot because I thought that it would be dangerous for me to try to connect to other people that might let me down, or I just wasn't worthy of like good quality connections until Sober Fit Girl, until I got sober, until I started deepening friendships that mean a lot to me and realizing that it's like people are supposed to be happy for you. They're
Yeah.
supposed to support you, and I didn't think that for a long time.
I think it's so important that you celebrate your wins in the right audience. And having expectations, I've learned this in my sobriety, having expectations for certain people to give me a specific feedback has only let me down. When I celebrate something, I know where to go. I know where to get that feedback of, you're fucking awesome, great job. And then I know which people in my life not to share certain things with, and that's okay. That's okay. I've Me having less expectations for certain people has actually made our relationship even stronger. There are specific family members that mostly focus on them in our relationship and showing up for them, and that's okay. It gives me peace because I get the love that the celebration love and the excitement love from my best friends, from Sober Fit Girl. I think as you grow in sobriety, you create connections that can kind of make up for the ones that don't make you feel good and celebrate. And again, that's why I have a better relationship with my family. Like, I know where we stand, I know what to go with them, I know what to not share with them, and it's okay. It's okay. That's helped me so much, is being sure to share certain things with the right audience that's going to, like I expect and know that when I share great things with my friends, they're going to be so proud of me. And I know who to not go to. And that's just learning in sobriety of how to manage relationships, expectations, so you don't have resentment later. If I go to some specific family members and I share my wins, I already know what their response is going to be. So why wouldn't I go get that celebration from you instead? And then I don't create resentment, because if I create resentment, it's going to bring me closer to a drink. Resentment towards my family is one of the biggest reasons I drank. So why would I, do actions to put myself in a position to be hurt? That's, and I love that you brought up family, and when you would act a certain way you would get anger. I had a reward system and a punishment system in my childhood, where if I my mom was obsessed with cleaning the house a specific way. If a fork was put down the wrong way, I would get screamed and yelled at, like horrifically screamed out. I remember being a child, and before my mom would come home, I would clean the whole house specifically, and make sure that it was so perfect, because I knew that if she came home and it was perfect, I would get rewarded. But if I didn't, I knew I would get punished. So that hyper anxiety of people pleasing started at such a young age for me, because I was honestly terrified to have do anything wrong. And that's why I kept drinking too. Is I was so afraid of, if I didn't drink, people would act a certain way. And it takes time. Saying no to alcohol, especially when you're around a ton of people who drink, takes time. Did you find that saying no to alcohol got easier?
Oh, 100%. Over time, it got easier because I started doing the work underneath why I was people pleasing. I just have to say, that story you shared with your mom is exactly my childhood. Um, my grandma was living with us, and my mom would always come home from work at 8. And like an hour before she would come home, my grandma was like, "All right, we have to get this house spotless how your mom likes it, because my mom has everything in a specific place and it has to be like that. Like if she opens a shelf and she notices that something is crooked, she will freak out." Like my mom has always been like this, and it's crazy how like my grand it was like a teamwork on people pleasing. Me and my grandma were both like, "All right, like urgency, like the sense of urgency." However, see, even talking about these things is I could never do that when I was drinking. I was too focused on the drinking. In sobriety, when we're not trauma stacking and we're not creating new problems for ourselves, and we think back to like certain dynamics between um, our families, our friends when we were growing up, we're able to understand it a little more. Like there was certain things that I kind of blocked out about my childhood and the friends that I had and kind of the dynamics that I was in. And now looking back, I was like, okay, obviously it makes so much sense why I was so concerned about making sure that other people were happy and always putting them above myself and being on edge, waiting for a reaction from people. Like it's makes sense. It makes sense why. And also, I feel like in a lot of ways, when I was drinking, it would give me a green light to kind of do what I want and like not feel that pressure to make everyone happy. Because when I was in my early 20s and I was in a relationship, I had my parents in my ear about what they want for me and what I should be doing. I had him in my ear talking about what I should be doing and what he wants for me. I had all of these voices, and it was so loud that the only way that I felt like I could get any type of relief from it was to drink and to numb out the voices of like, go to this type of school, get this type of job. Um, and that was just not what I wanted for myself. Like I always knew that like I had a different purpose and I wasn't exactly sure what it was, but I just knew that the things that were expected of me was not my purpose. And so I think that drinking helped me people please better, but it also took away the pressure that I felt to have to say yes to everybody all the time. Like I would disappear. And yes, I would disappoint everyone. I would disappoint my boyfriend at the time. I would disappoint my family by drinking, but it almost was the best way for me to finally get some type of relief from this urge to people please all the time, because it was another thing that like I feel like was mindless to me. Like I never once cared about my own feelings in anything. I said yes to everything that they wanted from me, but I was miserable. I was so unhappy, so unhappy. So in sobriety, I was able to look at a lot of the dynamics that I was just not looking at when I was drinking, I was running from, and I was able to understand it. And when you understand things about your behaviors in the past, it's easier to create change. And that's exactly what I started noticing. Now, don't get me wrong, it still pains me to feel like I'm letting people down. It really does. Like in some cases, when I feel like I am maybe disappointing somebody, I still get that pit in my stomach and it takes me back, because these like thought patterns and behaviors are so ingrained in my mind and my behaviors that it's something that's so painful to me to this day, is to like have hard conversations with people and feel like I'm letting people down. However, this is something that is a common theme right now for me, is that when I look back and I think about how many situations and times in my life where I made myself small, I avoided celebrating my wins and things that I want to celebrate. I tried to make myself less happy than I actually was. I try to dim my light a little bit so that other people can feel comfortable. That is something I will not be doing anymore. I have worked hard to get to a place where I feel happy in my sobriety. I can have fun in my sobriety. I have amazing people in my life that want to see me win, that celebrate my wins, that give me that support. And I can relate to this because I was at a point in my life where I couldn't see a happy person because it triggered me. It triggered me to see somebody that is actually having fun and being successful in what they're doing. It was triggering to me because I was at a point where I was still in a victim mindset and I didn't want to take accountability or make the changes that I had to make. And I almost felt like I had to make excuses for those people. So right now, I'm at a point where I just will be unapologetically happy. And I know that the people that matter to me and the people that love and support me in the way that I have always wanted will be there. And that's what matters to me. For me, it's not about how many people are around me, it's about the quality of the people that are around me. And I know that that is something that we have been talking a lot about, and you have your own experience with this as well, because I know that you are somebody that gives a lot to people, and there is moments that there's disappointment because it feels like you're let down.
I mean, it always comes back to my childhood where no matter what I did, it didn't matter. No matter what I did, it was never good enough. As a child for my mom, I could have put the fork that way, didn't put the fork that way. It didn't matter. Nothing was ever good enough. And that is why I found alcohol. It said, well, I was like, why does it matter? I might as well drink. Who cares? And it was the one thing that helped me escape. I think that's why I started drinking so much. It's just my home was so insane and crazy and yelling and screaming that it didn't matter if I got straight A's, didn't drink, whatever. I was so neglected that it didn't matter. So I might as well just drink. Who cares? No one cares about me. No one cares about me as a kid. So I might as well keep drinking. And that is what took me into such a place of like, no matter what I do, it's never good enough. So I might as well do nothing. But until I got sober and I started hitting these goals and started rebuilding my self-esteem and being around a community that made me feel celebrated, there's a huge contrast between people who celebrate you and people who don't. And so the more I started to celebrate and accomplish my wins and get feedback from these people, I started to feel safe to share those wins. I started to feel safe to be my true self and shine bright and receive love back. And then there's that, you start to create a higher baseline in the people that you want to share these things with. And my best friends are my highest baseline. And there will always be my highest baseline of what type of friendships and romantic relationships that I want. And so that's helped me so much see the people that don't support me. And it really, truly goes back to expectations. I it's not that I dim my light around these people. It's just I don't feel safe to share. And that's okay. That's okay. Now, when it comes to my social media presence and being someone who's an advocate to sobriety and wellness and fitness and healing, why would I dim my light? How can I help someone if I'm dimming my light? How can I help someone if I'm not showing what sobriety looks like and how amazing sobriety can be? Now, don't get me wrong, I've been working harder on showing the harder parts of sobriety, but I want to be the person who's sharing all of these amazing wins that you can receive in sobriety, not from a place of ego, from a place of look at what's available for you. Why would you want to hire a mentor that's unhappy? Why would you want to work with someone who who hates sobriety? It makes no sense to me. And I love that you shared, comparison and when I was in my sober curious journey and I struggled with my relationship with alcohol, anyone who was sober, I'm like, that's, I don't like that. That makes me feel bad. And I'm so grateful for those moments too, because I can look back at specific sober people. And even though it was such a projection of what I actually wanted and it irritated me and it made me so resentful, those specific people did get me sober because they showed me what's available. And if they dimmed their light at that time when I was sitting with them, they couldn't have helped me. They couldn't have helped me. So, when I share things about my journey, if I don't get the feedback I want, it's probably from a place of they're struggling with their own stuff. So I just try to stay in my light, stay in my happiness and my joy. Yeah, share the hard times, but I don't know how I can help people if I'm not sharing those things.
Yeah. I also love when you bring up that sobriety should be fun. And one of the regrets that you had in your first 2 years of sobriety was that you didn't have enough fun. And what I love about Sober Fit Girl and the program is that we talk about really deep and heavy stuff, but then there's also moments that we laugh and we have fun. And, we have Bali retreats where you are able to see a beautiful place and just let loose and really be in the moment. And it's just a combination of both because yes, there's so much heavy stuff that comes up in sobriety, but what has helped me get through it was also having fun and to like allow myself to see that life in sobriety can be absolutely beautiful and I was not living until I got sober and I started doing it all. And for example, when I started coming across your TikToks before I even came to Sober Fit Girl, I thought, wow, like that's so cool. My biggest fear was that I wasn't going to have any fun in sobriety and that I was going to be super lonely. And I'm seeing you like, having so much fun in sobriety and surrounded by people that love and support you. And that allowed me to see, like, okay, this is possible. That's something that I want for myself too. And it got me there, right? But that's because I came into it with the mindset that, like, I want to do this the right way. I want to have the combination of both having fun, being silly, um, and living life, but also having those moments where I'm checking in and I'm having really truly about finding a balance. If all you're focused on is the dark of what you're unpacking, you're going to be closer to a drink. You're going to feel insecure. You're going to feel uncomfortable. And yes, sobriety and healing is uncomfortable, but at the same time, you know, when you're taking accountability, you're letting go of like everything's happening to me, everybody else is the problem, I'm not the problem. You're finally able to see, like, okay, you know, like this is what I'm carrying, and this is where I have to take accountability, and I'm gonna let go of this. And I think that over time, when we realize that we have been in our own way for a long time, and once we get out of our own way, it's different. Because, like I said, even a year before I got sober, if I saw you on TikTok, I would scroll right past you and I would dismiss it immediately. I'd be like, she had it good. Like, I don't believe that. Or I would make excuses about you and be like, oh, well, she's not good at this, she's not good at that. Like, to make myself feel better. And so that's where the shift happens. You want to be surrounded by people that inspire you and that you can have fun with while you unpack all the other stuff. And that's the beauty of Sober Fit Girl.
I think it's so good that you brought up my first 2 years of sobriety and why I wish I had more fun. And the reason I wasn't having fun was because when I got sober, I truly believed that I was broken. I truly believed that I needed to be fixed, that there was something wrong with me. So I spent my first year and a half fixing, and I wanted to fix every single area of my life at one time, and it was so overwhelming and it was so exhausting. I was finally grieving my father's passing after a decade. I was finally looking at my childhood trauma, and I thought I could fix that in a day. And my relationship with the opposite sex, thought I could fix that. And I thought I could fix my relationship with food, and it was so exhausting. And the biggest thing I can share that I truly believe, you can say God, you can say universe, delivers what you can handle at that time. And when I let go of the fixing and looked at more as exploring myself, exploring my relationship with the opposite sex, exploring, my family dynamics, instead of a place of there's something wrong and I need to fix it, it gave me that space and that freedom. If things were coming to me at a specific time, that I could handle it. In that, there's more space to have fun and enjoy. I was living in Bali for a year and a half, and I was not enjoying it. I wasn't enjoying, of course I was enjoying it and I was, doing things. It's just internally I couldn't enjoy it because I thought I was broken and there's something wrong with me. That shifted at year 3, year 4, and especially at year 5. There's nothing wrong with me. Of course, I was dealt a really rough childhood, so of course I turned to alcohol. Of course I turned to food. Of course. And so I just look now at my sobriety as, just things are coming to me and I'll work on it as they come, instead of trying to do everything at once. We get sober to have fun. We don't get sober to be miserable. We don't get sober just to hyper fix and do trauma work every single day. This is why I love SoberFitGirl, is because I encourage them to go on solo trips. We encourage them to go on solo trips. We encourage them to try new things and make space for having fun, because we don't get sober to be miserable. Oh, she's done.